Welcome to the No Limits podcast, where breakthrough strategies in therapeutic education help neurodivergent children learn, connect, and grow in powerful new ways.
Hi, and welcome to the No Limits podcast. I'm here with Chris Carey, speech language pathologist extraordinaire is what I call her. I really do. So we're really talking about our first core value, which is communication. It's really important how you connect that, and it's different for every child. We have a lot of children over at No Limits Academy is where our proving grounds are. I call it our research and development school, and it is true because they've taught us a lot more about how we move forward, right? So I believe that you want to talk about how you connect better to a nonverbal child, and what does the path look like is important, because a lot of people don't know that.
Right. Right. And the path is important because, like you said, we have children that are at all different levels. So what does it look like from the beginning? So from the beginning, we're just kind of watching and we're listening. We're watching their body language. We're watching their eye gaze. We're watching their response to stimuli. So if we give them something, do they readily take it, or do they turn away from it? Very simple. So we do that in all therapies. We do that in the classroom.
Right.
We should be doing that at home as well. We just wait and we watch.
Right.
And then from there, we start to see physically how can they engage.
Right.
So they're still taking in. They're always taking in. They're watching. They're listening to us. So be careful what you say and do in front of them, because they are listening and they are learning that way.
Right.
So what are you teaching them?
Right.
What are we teaching them? And then we go from there and we start to give some concrete objects and see how they respond to concrete objects, dislikes, likes. We offer pictures, see if they understand what things are with the pictures. Can they look at this picture? Can they touch this picture? And build from there and see how many pictures that they can handle at one time. This can be done in classroom lessons. This can be done in speech therapy. This can be done at home when you give choices at home. You can create pictures if you would like, or you can put 4 objects in front of them and see what they lean towards, see what they reach for, and then watch to see how they react to it. They're going to show you if they accidentally picked something that they didn't want.
And you know what I think is so funny? We engage their personality in that
Yes.
too. And then we realize if they're silly or if they're sassy.
Yes.
Yes. That's for me, I get the most thrill, I'm not a speech therapist, but I get the most thrill out of watching you guys work and watching the unlock of the personality, right? And even the manipulation of that too, right?
Yeah.
So kids manipulate, even kids nonverbal with physical disabilities, their manipulation is strong in them, right? So you have to say, what is that? Because, behaviors are communication.
Yes,
right?
They are. Absolutely.
We've known that for a long time. 17 years doing that over at No Limits Academy. And if you haven't spoke to a child in a long time directly, they're in their own little world, and then these behaviors come out, because they're resisting coming out of their own little world. But when we unlock that, we watch them just blossom.
Yes, or a sense of humor. I can think of one child that we had that loves football.
Oh, yeah.
And he understands who everybody's favorite team is in the facility. So we have it programmed on his device. So when this child comes to me, I might ask, so who am I watching this weekend? What football team am I watching this weekend? And he knows if he says Dallas Cowboys, he's going to get a rise out of me because I do not like the Dallas Cowboys.
The Eagles is strong in you.
The Eagles are strong. It's strong in me. But he teases the therapist like that because he knows he'll go to the Dallas Cowboy fan and he'll say Eagles because he knows he's going to get a response.
Right.
So that's the kind of personality we want to pull out from these children. We want to encourage them to have that kind of a relationship with us. So it's not just about getting needs met and academics. It's about building relationship. It's huge. It's huge.
100%. And that it becomes more social, right?
Yes. And that's motivating.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and so that becomes a connection also with the people around them,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because they're not just the caregiver anymore, right?
Yeah.
They're actually forming that, because that becomes very strong in people, right?
Yes.
When you're given a child that's medical and you're like, okay, here's that medical trial, here's your feeding tube, and here's your here's all your stuff, right?
Yeah.
No matter what it is, could be lots of different things that are happening. You know, there's so many different situations. But I even have done it. I've lost myself inside of all that medical, or I've lost myself inside of just the therapeutic aspect, or no, I need them educated, right? So, but that first move is communication and connection, right?
Yeah.
And then making sure that they're a whole person and that they're giving those choices so that personality can come out.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I'm just, that's just so important. So what are some other things, like basically we do this in the No Limits method. We show them how to walk through with the micro credentials, like the communication and all of the core values. And it's kind of just a circle that just continues to grow over time. But like, if someone's watching today, how are they going to just start realizing their nonverbal child can communicate to them, that they're understanding? What tips or tricks that you could give them?
So some basic things you can do, start by giving choice. That's the most empowering thing. So we might just get in this routine in your day where you just start doing for your child. Well, let's stop and pause and think, how can I give my child a choice today?
Yeah.
Starting from when you wake up in the morning, hold up 2 different shirts. Are they going to let them touch a shirt that they want? Or let them look at the shirt that they want?
Yeah, if they don't have good movement or like.
Right,
yeah.
So you got to watch that body language. And be creative. Maybe your child can kick. You know, I've seen AAC users that use their toes. So be creative and watch what works best for your child, but give them choice. Let them choose what they want to wear. Let them choose shorts or pants. Let them choose their breakfast. Right. Give them options and empower them. Build up their pride in themselves.
Yeah, worth and value is what you're trying. You're trying to give them, because. So my analogy to all of those things are like, if you walked into Starbucks and you literally had one choice and it was vanilla latte, would you go back? No.
Yeah.
So you would walk right out.
Yeah.
Right? So even in our world as neurotypical people, we want and crave those choices in life, right?
Yeah.
So do they.
Yeah.
It's just unlocking it. And I know, like, from a parent's perspective, because when my son Matt came to me, he was nonverbal. I adopted him at 3, and I had to figure out how not to make this so therapeutic for him for choices, right? Like, but I would set out 3 different things of like cereal, like, so that he could like pick which one he wanted to eat, right?
Yeah.
So there are things like that you can do in your routine daily life.
Yeah.
I remember a lot of those. Like, I don't have time for this, right?
Yeah.
I've got to work. I've got that caregiving aspect, but you can. It's just incorporating it in what you're doing already. Right.
And the other thing too, we talked about this before, trying to avoid yes/no questions. So giving them those concrete choices.
Right.
Because yes, no is very abstract, and it takes a while cognitively for that to be understood by a child, depending on where they are.
100%.
So let's make the choices concrete. So very visual, tactile, so that they can answer you more accurately and get their needs met more quickly.
Yeah, because a yes, no, even though we would think that would be the easiest way to go.
It might be for us.
Yeah. But the whole problem with that is the way you ask the question.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
then it can be interpreted differently.
Yes.
But if it's more concrete, like
Yes.
you said,
Yes.
you know, it's something that they're looking at or touching.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And
you
the
know.
other thing too with yes, no, and you could do this with other things too. If you're doing the fists drive me crazy. Drive me crazy because I see it all the time.
Show me.
Do you want to eat popcorn? Yes, no.
No.
And then somebody else comes along and says, do you want a drink? And you say, yes, no. All right. I've mixed up my yes, no.
No.
So we all present it differently.
Yeah.
So what's
It
a
took me a
child
minute.
to do? You know, and I mean, there's a time and a place for that, but it's like last resort.
Exactly.
Last resort.
Right. And the way the question is posed.
Yes. Yes.
Because you'll confuse. So as you start to teach communication, you don't want to confuse.
No, you're
right?
as simple and clear as possible.
Right. And then if they march quickly through that,
Yeah.
go with it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
If you know that you can advance them, you know, off
Yes.
of just, you know, maybe ripped off pictures on a word book to then technology to
Yes.
that. But what I don't like is when they keep them at a lower level.
Yes.
Just because there has to be that introduction as it goes along.
Right.
But let them go.
Yeah.
Right. And they may like the ripping off of the picture because they like the sound.
Right.
Of
The
it.
sensory part of it, the tactile and the auditory.
Right.
Yep.
But there's just so much of that you can get to
Yeah.
a sentence,
Yeah.
you know, over time.
Yeah.
So
It depends. Like we talked about, they're all individuals too.
yeah.
Some children, I do have some that's kind of where they are. But we don't want to keep them there if at all possible. So we're trying different things with each one, and you'll see them at all different levels. But you're right. We don't want them stuck.
Yeah.
So on their AAC devices, we try to start with a larger field, and we'll just hide buttons. So they only have those few choices at the moment. But as they progress, we just start unhiding more buttons, and then they've got more choices, and keeping their old choices in the same position for that motor memory that we talk about.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so in that we want to not to be afraid of like any type of communication that you start with, and you know, we're here to really make that difference to get your child connected to you, right? And you know, through the No Limits method, we have done a lot of this, like that we're just talking here about certain components, but we've actually like formed micro credentials that literally put you through this. So, you know, our core values are communication and choice are the first two, because you'd say that's kind of simple, like duh, you know, but it's not. Really, people don't understand what it takes to get a child through an educational system and be able to use it in the right way, right? And have the paraprofessionals and the teachers and the therapists coordinate and the parents understand. You know, that is where the break is. And it's funny for me. I realized that the Americans with Disabilities Acts are only as old as my oldest child, which is 34 years old, right? So a lot of this stuff hasn't had the training. It's not there, right? But, you know, it's so important. And that's over the last 17 years that we've been doing No Limits Academy. We've been pushing it and moving it and trying to organize it and realize what is actually happening. So I'm so grateful for the team that I have, Chris being one of them. I'm grateful that they understand that this is where we're going. You know, we want to make it simpler for you as a parent to be able to access this stuff and understand it, for a teacher and a therapist to be able to talk to each other and transfer that information. And that is huge. So I appreciate you. And thank you for watching the No Limits podcast. And we'll see you in the next episode.